News Weekly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 131 in year 3, and we have a lot of entertainment news to talk about. Of course, we got viewer questions, and of course, the comic book reviews, which we actually got some interesting comic books. Not too sure how you thought about them this week, Clay. Some were good, some were bad.
Yeah,
So
about the same.
yeah, so we'll be doing that. But yeah, we got a lot of entertainment news to talk about. But since it's been the topic for the last 2 weeks, I think we should start off with the Batman box office numbers. I have to ask you, did these surprise you or did you kind of expect this?
I kind of expected it. Now there is a lot of trolling for people who just for some reason think that the Batman is going to fail.
Mhm.
Which even as we're Batman fans,
Yeah.
and I said this the other day on a podcast. It's Batman, so especially in 2020s,
Mhm.
Batman, almost anything with Batman is never going to fail.
Yeah.
I think that it will immediately be a success because of the initial thoughts on something. And then later on, it could probably dive down, like, start to drop or whatever. But I think any Batman property will most likely just always succeed. That's what it's always going to be. But uh, I think now with China, it has reached.
So
Uh,
is it out in China already?
I
Or has it
believe.
come out this week?
I believe that there is like initial like pre-orders already for the uh like the pre-sale tickets for
Oh,
the
okay.
first few week, like for the week or whatever, are
Mhm.
out. But the Batman has surpassed 500,000
Million.
in sales. Or yeah, sorry,
Oh,
500 million
yeah.
in ticket sales in their box office. My initial reaction my initial thoughts on box office before the Batman came out was that it was going to round about 750.
Mhm.
Now, I think it's going to be more realistic for 750 now that COVID again has had an outbreak in China as well. So places are shutting down
Yeah.
again. And so I think that theaters will be limited capacity and things like that in China. So I think it will hurt the Batman a little bit, but other countries are not the United States, so they'll
Yeah.
actually listen, and then they'll quickly get back to whatever they need to do in the next 3 weeks, and then you'll see the numbers go back up.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, as of right now, I totally saw that. I saw that there was like a new outbreak. I was like, oh, come on, man. But hopefully it's nothing. And I mean, they're saying it's not as bad. But I, I want to say I was kind of surprised to see it reach 500 so fast. I still don't think it's going to cross a billion, though.
I don't think
Uh,
it will either.
yeah. But I could see 750 being in that range, especially in a COVID era. Like you can hang your hat pretty high on that.
Yeah,
Did
and do you know what's absolutely insane? Well, I say insane, but like in retrospect to how far it's been or how long it's been, WB hasn't had a like large $1 billion movie.
mhm.
Like, was it 1 billion or I can't remember the exact numbers, but like their like biggest movie
Yeah.
I think so far, like recently, would be shit. Would that be Joker? It would be Joker is their last $1 billion movie, right?
Yeah, probably because I think
And that
Joker came
was
out after Aquaman. So
yeah, it did come out after Aquaman. That was 2019, I
yeah,
believe. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because then COVID hit that following year. Yeah.
I was like looking at numbers and stuff, or like when the first week of the Batman numbers started to come in, and I think they had said something along the lines of like the last opener that was this big, aka
Mhm.
what Batman did, which I think was 238 million, was like in 2017.
Jesus.
So in 5 years. So I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck?
I mean, they were missing a lot with the superhero films though. So
Yeah.
like, cuz like Wonder Woman got close and then it wasn't until Aquaman that it finally crossed a billion and then they got lucky with Joker and that's when everybody was like, "Oh, hell yeah, it looks like DC's on track." And then COVID happened and Birds of Prey wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So it was just like, "Oh, here we go again. The movies are going to start sucking, blah blah blah." And that's kind of what we ended up dealing with. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I'm not surprised. I mean, I am surprised that it made this much, but I mean, 500 was very. I thought that would happen. I just don't think it's going to cross a billion because in 45 days it's going to be on HBO Max,
Yeah,
and so you don't have that three
they
month
got
reign.
clarification in literally a month. April 17th
Oh,
is
really?
when to from where we are recording now.
Yeah,
So, uh on April 17th is when it will be available on HBO Max. Uh I do think the number will start to dwindle down after that.
yeah.
But again, that's still a whole month. So it still has time to really build up.
It would have to make 100 million a week, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, over 100 million a week to do that, but we'll see, man. We have a lot of people in Discord that have seen it multiple times, so
Which is
obviously,
absolutely insane, guys.
yeah, I
I
don't.
we appreciate you as listeners and as compatriots on the Discord, but like that's a
That's
long
so
ass
long.
movie.
Yeah, it's a
That's a
long
long
movie.
ass movie.
Yeah, I only saw. I think I only saw Endgame once in theaters, and that was a decent amount of time too.
I saw
Um,
Endgame twice in theaters. I was
yeah,
about to go for a third time, and I was just like, never mind.
I don't know if I've ever seen a really long movie twice in theaters. All the Lord of the Rings, if I went to them, I saw them once. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember seeing the sixth Harry Potter and thought that movie was fucking boring. Took forever. I felt that movie was really long. It was so bad that I didn't go see the last two movies. Never seen them. I know how they
Fuck.
end, but I've never seen them. Anyways, speaking or keeping in line with the Batman, did you see this news that NicolasCage wants to play Egghead in the
That was
Batman?
so fucking random. I
It's
love
very Nicolas Cage.
well, like I was about to say I love this resurgence of Nicolas Cage, but like people don't realize this man has been working like even since his like biggest like blockbuster. This
Yeah,
dude has been making some random fucking crazy indie films. It feels like for the past like 6 years he's come out with like random fucking like A24 type films. Like just off
yeah,
the wall type of weird shit. And he's going to be playing himself in a movie with Pedro Pascal.
yeah.
Uh
Apparently, it's critically acclaimed.
it
Like, it's good.
sounds it sounds hilarious. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah,
But like there's come a resurgence of, him coming back in like a cameo for Multiverse of Madness. And of course, he was supposed to be Superman in Tim Burton's Superman movie.
yeah.
Or sorry, no, is it Kevin Smith's Superman movie?
Was it gonna be Kevin Smith? I thought it was Tim Burton.
I don't know. All I know is that Kevin Smith, Tim Burton, and J.J. Abrams were all attached to that film in some capacity.
Uh huh.
So I
Huh.
don't know whose movie it was supposed to be. All I
Yeah,
know is that Nicolas Cage was supposed to be a kung fu Superman
that would have been so weird.
fighting a super powered President Luther.
I'd like to see that. I mean, that sounds like something Kevin Smith would write because he's always so high. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But
It's
it would
fucking
be
wild.
interesting because he says that he thinks he could make Eggman terrifying. And if you guys don't know Eggman, I think a lot of people would probably know him from, I think the 66 show is
Hmm.
probably where a lot of people would know him from. But yeah, Nicolas Cage is a. I mean, if he were to shave his head, he kind of looks like Eggman. So like, I think it could work, and I think he could just do something ridiculous. But I don't know. I'm also hearing rumors that Matt Reeves wants Hush to be in his series, and I'm like, why? Like, why do you want Hush after you just had the Riddler? Like, Especially the way he did the Riddler. I don't understand why you'd bring in Hush.
I'm not entirely sure why I I am seeing so many people take every word Matt Reeves says and it's
Yeah.
like, that's in the next movie.
Hmm.
I'm like, guys, that's not how movies work.
Yeah.
And he even stated in an interview, "Oh, well, I'm not entirely sure. I don't have the story written for the sequel yet. So I don't
Hmm.
know what we're doing." But like people interviewers are like, "Oh, like what about this character? Do you have any plans for this?" And of course he's going to say, "Oh, we could possibly do that."
Yeah.
Because he wants people interested. He wants people to keep an eye on him so that way he makes even more money for the next film. That's how
Yeah.
things work. But don't take everything as like a guarantee. Like
Yeah.
that's the way I'm looking at it.
I think it's just because he said he wants to show like the rogues gallery, so everybody's like, "Oh yeah, he'll do it." And I mean, he wasn't afraid to show a bunch of villains in this movie, which I just didn't agree with that idea. I think just if you go past two villains, it's too much.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Matt Reeves will probably do whatever he wants. He has a show, so he could probably do a bunch of things, and maybe that's why people are kind of blowing it out of proportion because like, they can do it in the shows. He could be in the Penguin show. It could be in the Arkham show. It could be in this, you know. So it's just how it was with Gotham, man. Everybody would take something, hear something, and they'd be like, "Oh, they're gonna bring in this and this and that and this and that." And then all the YouTube channels, especially like I was like, "Yeah, you could bring it in. You could do this. You could do that." But yeah, it never really happens. So it's just
And it would be weird. Just because of the very on the nose like hint at Hush,
yeah.
literally saying the word Hush like
Mhm.
in big letters on the screen. I
Yeah.
feel like that's a little too on the nose. Like I wouldn't want it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really know where they're planning on going with it. It's funny. I saw somebody make the comparison, which I didn't really get this from the Batman, but somebody compared, that super emotional animated series scene where the Spades girl or whatever is dying on the swing set. Everybody's like, I could see Robert Pattinson's
I
Batman do
know
this. And
I
I'm
know
like, why?
exactly who. So for those of you in my corner of Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
there is a super troll out there
Mm-hmm.
uh, named Jimmy. Jimmy
Popcorn?
Filonio, or I can't remember his last name, but he like puts him out there. He puts himself out there as like a huge Wally West fan,
Mm-hmm.
but he does anything for the clicks. He will
Mm-hmm.
put really stupid stuff out there just to piss people off. He'll go after the Snyder Bros. He'll go after basically anybody, but he
Yeah.
loves to go after the Snyder Bros because he knows that they will engage in his post and he'll trend for a little bit. And then
Yeah.
people will like his post, retweet it, and then you have like thousands upon thousands of retweets on his post.
Yeah.
Like he likes to be like, "Oh yeah, like guys, you need to understand that like Tom Holland's Spider-Man would beat the absolute shit out of Ben Affleck's Batman."
Mm-hmm.
Like just random stuff like that. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, Captain America would clean sweep Batman any day of the week." Like
Yeah.
he does, and he purposely puts pictures of like Ben Affleck's Batman or the warehouse scene and just random stuff like that. He just
Yeah.
loves to do it. But that post in particular, he was like, "Oh yeah, like Pattinson is the only Batman that would ever be capable of making this a reality."
Yeah.
And I'm like, why and how?
Yeah.
Like
It's because
you're throwing something so random out there, and just because you see that this Batman extended a hand towards a
yeah, that's
kid in a
exactly why.
movie,
Yeah.
he's like you're I feel like that's a huge stretch.
That's Twitter, man. This is why we have Ethan in our Discord who loves to ask questions. But Ethan has said this, and Ethan, if you're listening, he's has openly admitted that he gets triggered by comments all the time. And just as Clay explained, there are people out there trying to get you mad on these websites. So you need to not give a fuck about what people say, like
Yeah.
genuinely. And like I do not respond to a lot of stuff. That's why like half the time, like if you're in our Discord, I'll try to respond to you. But if you are just asking question after question after question, I have to ignore you at some point because I got shit to do. Like some of y'all got a bajillion questions. So I'm just like, damn. But especially on Twitter, man, they just won't stop. Like they'll just keep coming and coming. I'm just like, no, sorry.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I don't really follow a lot of people on Twitter in the comic verse because I don't want to see all that shit. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to follow some streamers and that's it because that's where I'm trying to really promote my stuff. But yeah, the comic verse is just insane because nobody else has anything better to do. You know what I mean? It's like I'd rather keep it to our Discord where people can hear us and talk about the podcast and whatnot, and it's actual conversation because you've heard our voices and you can explain yours. But man, some people on Twitter, one of the people on Twitter, I said, I think I retweeted Ludwig's opinion and I was like, hey, he's not the only one. I didn't like the movie either. And the person just responded with, well, you didn't understand it. And I'm just like, it's no, I totally did. I just thought it was fucking boring. And you know what I mean? Like, and it's insane how people get so upset
Yeah.
because you don't like something that they like or that they love.
And I want to say also to those people who do get triggered by stuff, like I have said this plenty of times because I got one dude. I don't know him personally. He just randomly started to show up in my mentions on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
but he's calling me a DC hater
Mm-hmm.
because of the predictions that I've made with Reeves doing, very plain, quote unquote, grounded characters that we've already seen before.
Yeah.
And he's straight up told me, "You're not a DC fan. You need to go host a Marvel show."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't need to prove my fandom to anybody
Yeah.
because I know that every fucking week I'm reading anywhere around 4 to sometimes 8 comics of DC.
Yeah.
I own so much merchandise from DC. We talk about DC all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Like I what does that when does it not make me a fan? You know?
Yeah, I don't respond to that kind of shit anymore. Like it's one thing to call I don't really call people out on their fandoms a lot. I call them out on stuff they say.
Mhm.
That's how I go about things now. I'm not going to question your fandom and what you've read and do all this stuff, but I might ask the question, and I think that's the thing. This is the one thing I fucking hate about the internet is text conversations are the fucking worst
Yeah.
because it's all how you interpret the way you read it. Because like if somebody was like, "Oh, talking about something," I would ask, "Have you read this book?" And I'm asking it just very chilly, like, "Hey, have you read this book?"
But then they see it as condescending and they're like,
Yeah, like,
"Of
"Have
course
you
I've
read
read
this
that book."
book?"
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
how they take it, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, that's not how I meant it. You're getting so fucking worked up about this." And, yeah, so I absolutely hate text conversations because the thing that sucks is, and this has happened in the Discord that doesn't even have to do with Batman, but people will get upset with me being like, "Hey, you can't do that or you can't do whatever," because I'm trying to keep the peace in Discord sometimes. People get out of hand, or they used to. It's been pretty chill recently. But I'd have
We're
to say
looking
this
at you,
stuff.
Drew.
I'd have to say, like, no, this is even before Drew came in, but Drew is the resident troll. People would just like accuse me of all this shit. I'm like, dude, I'm not like you're accusing me for no fucking reason. And
Yeah.
it's because they would take my words and they'd be like, you're attacking me or you're saying this and that. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, you're reading it in a negative way. Like, that's on you, not on me.
Yeah.
And I say that as somebody that has 100% done that. I've
Mhm.
totally done that too. And I forget how they say it. It's like you either you read things in a pessimistic mindset. I think that's how they say it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've definitely done that before, and it sucks. And that's why I'm like, I just sometimes I'll type out what I was gonna say and then I'll just delete it. I'm like, no, no, no. Like maybe you should just read it again and take it in a different way and do something. I'm just like,
Chill,
chill,
Juice.
bro, chill.
Chill.
But anyways, so yeah, there's that. But going on from that, man, I don't know. We should jump. Let's jump over to this because we kind of had a disagreement on this. You said that Sam Raimi, or an article came out saying that Sam Raimi has always had his eye on Batman, and if the bat signal shined for him or whatever, he'd come running or some shit. I don't know what the tagline was, but you said if we were ever going to get a comic booky Batman, Sam Raimi would be the one to do it.
Yes.
I said, let's not forget about Spider-Man 3. And I'm actually the minority in here because some other people were like, no, I mean, look at Multiverse of Madness. I think that's what you said. And I think Ethan chimed in on that. And I was like, we haven't seen Multiverse of Madness. It could blow dick. We don't know that.
That is true. I'm
Yeah.
going off of me being a little bit more on the inside of, just that fandom and
Yeah.
looking at everything behind the scenes. It's looking to be a really good film.
Hmm.
Now, that may be the craziness and the nostalgia of getting some older characters in
Yeah.
there and whatnot. Not going to spoil anything, but there's rumors of characters jumping in here in that movie. But I also said, like, to your argument of, Spider-Man 3, I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, for once, I'm going to agree with Ethan here.
Hmm.
Sam Raimi and the executives for Sony were kind of butting heads during the making of that film,
Yeah.
which ultimately got him to say, no, I'm not going to make a fourth Spider-Man movie.
Hmm.
So he didn't want Venom in that movie. He didn't want multiple villains. He still wanted to tell the story of Uncle Ben, of Harry, and all of that stuff that was happening like near the tail end of Spider-Man 2 and all of that stuff. So it would actually feel like an organic trilogy. The
Hmm.
inclusion of Venom like felt very fucking forced, and it was
Yeah.
ended up being
I
horrible.
thought all the villains sucked in that movie.
I thought that the whole Sandman thing was weird,
Hmm.
like just because like, oh, it just so happened that he was also the driver
Yeah.
that, that was driving the guy around that
Hmm.
ended up killing Uncle Ben. Like, I felt that was weird and so kind of shoehorned in.
Yeah.
But for me, my pinnacle of like superhero films
Hmm.
whenever I was a kid was quite possibly Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
So like I will always hold that and like just like, man, if I could get that in a DC movie, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I haven't. I love Man of Steel. I love parts of BVS. I think the Ultimate Edition tells a better coherent story.
Hmm.
And Zack Snyder's Justice League, if it wasn't so damn long, it would be great.
Yeah.
But like as far when I said comic booky Batman, I
Hmm.
think Sam Raimi, because although Army of Darkness is a questionable film for certain reasons,
Hmm.
in my eyes, I think that he does get like the horror aspect of films, like
Yeah.
the cheesy horror film type stuff.
Hmm.
And some of that could possibly play very well with Batman.
I I'd have to see it, man, because the one thing I know about Raimi is yes, I liked Spider-Man 1 and 2, but those were also different times. Like we've
Yes.
gotten
Yes.
way better superhero movies since then. And at the same time, Sam Raimi will always be the person that had a tree rape a girl, which is the weirdest fucking thing probably not the weirdest thing I've seen in film because I've seen some really fucked up shit on film, but like that was just the weirdest thing when I was watching Evil Dead. I was just like, what is happening? I was all like, this is just weird. And so like, I'm just like, okay, and I'm pretty sure it's Sam Raimi because I think he did, I don't know if he did the remake as well. But either way, I was just like, all right. I don't know. Because I also think like because I think Ethan said something about he's a good director, and I was like, good directors don't necessarily mean good Batman films.
Yes.
That's what I said
And
because
that's
I didn't
when,
like Matt Reeves.
and again, text conversations are a little weird. He
Yeah,
immediately went on to say, oh, so you're saying the Nolan trilogy isn't good? And you're
yeah,
like, what the fuck? I didn't even say that.
yeah. And I think I put a face palm or something, and I left the
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah, it's just like no, I'm not. I don't say that at all. Like I have my issues with the Nolan films, but it's also probably the reason why I'm not a big fan of the Reeves verse because I've seen it in Nolan. So like I don't need to go back to it. And it's just like, yeah, people be like, "Oh, they're totally different, bro." They're still kind of trying to be realistic Batman, and I don't care. You know what I mean? They both had issues, and if you liked him, you liked him. If you didn't, you didn't. Because I know there's people that actually hate Nolan's verse, so
Yeah.
and they probably love the Batman. I don't see that big of a difference between them, to be honest. Maybe some different directing choices. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I don't know if Ben Affleck, fucking, oh my god, Christian Bale, ate C4 in that movie at all. So I'll always go back to that. Which I got to shout out to freaking Drew, our resident troll. He, I guess, saw the movie again. He was like, "You were right. He does. His face is right on the C4," and I'm like, "Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. That was a
Now,
solid point we made."
there were some people that are trying to debate,
Justify it.
yeah, justify it by saying, "Oh, well, if you look while he's falling backward, he actually has his gauntlet in front of his mouth."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "No.
No.
No. Cuz when
Mm-mm.
it explodes, he is holding the dude by the shirt." And we made the joke during the review. The dude's about to kiss. Like they are
Yeah.
like that freaking close. He ate that C4.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And it doesn't, like, his suit wasn't even like messed up or charred. Like
Nope.
nothing. And it was funny because I think it was Ethan or somebody was probably correcting him too, but like it was the idea of they were like, "Oh, he's a billionaire. He could have made a bomb-proof suit or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, comic booky, I could believe that, but there was nothing over his mouth. Like his
Yeah.
mouth should have been destroyed. Like he should have lost his jaw or something in that thing."
Yeah.
So that I think that's going to be the forever reference of that movie for me. That scene is going to be the forever
I
reference.
just remember both of us just our
Yeah.
hands just fucking flailing like, are you
Yep.
fucking kidding me?
Yep. That's gonna be the if that movie ever just leaves my brain, like all of it, that's the only thing I'm gonna remember. Oh yeah, it's when he ate the bomb, right? Like, yeah, it's gonna yeah, insane. But moving on from that movie, I have heard. I mean, I saw this today, which I think this is gonna be pretty interesting. Clay has not heard about this, but according to the hashtag show, which is a website that has hit in the past on certain scoops, this is an exclusive from them. A Gotham Knights movie, not the show that CW is doing, a Gotham Knights movie is in early development for HBO Max. And they actually have a premise for this already.
Okay, hold the fucking phone. You know what? No, what? I have this question after you read the premise.
Okay,
Read the premise first.
so they have this. The title says "The Road Leading to Gotham Knights." Okay, HBO Max and DC are slowly laying the seeds for a Gotham Knights team up film. It's already announced that we're getting Batgirl, which we know is coming later this year, which we thought, and it says in parentheses, tentatively due to WB shuffling of the schedule. So that was whatever. Hashtag show, which we've covered on this podcast before, has been the exclusive report that a Red Hood movie and a Deathstroke movie are in the works at HBO Max as well.
Yes.
So they've reported that. So, and then they also say that there is a rumor that Nightwing is supposed to show up in Batgirl, which we're still trying to figure that out.
So you think that this Gotham Knights is DCEU related?
Yes, 100%. It has nothing to do with the Batman.
Okay. So here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am the more and more I get into looking at all of this stuff, we're freaking neck deep in all of this behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff. So you have to look at marketing.
Mm-hmm.
One, both, which one's got to go? I would much rather say, hey, if it's set in the DCEU and we get like a legit, like freaking DCEU proper,
Yeah.
like Bat family, then let's fucking go. You cannot, marketing wise,
Uh-huh.
give us this whatever the fuck you're trying to make it CW
Mm-hmm.
and then say, oh, now let's make a Gotham Knights movie. Because then people are going to say, oh, So they're doing a show here that leads into the movie.
Yeah.
What the
Well,
fuck are they doing?
yeah, the got. I mean, this is the, I guess, tentative like title, so it could probably change because
It
it could
could,
be
yeah,
called the Bat Family or something.
yeah,
But this could be, because early reports of that Gotham Knights show had Dick Grayson as the lead. But now, if they're making a Gotham Knights movie, maybe they force them to change that, and that's why you're going to be getting Spoiler and all of those other characters that you're not going to see probably in the DCEU. So they're like, you can use the other Bat Family members, but you can't use Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon, or so and so. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that could be the reason why we're getting some random other orphan that apparently Bruce Wayne has adopted that's never been in the comic books. But going on to the rest of this thing, it says while this project is in early stages of development, some plot details are known. The team will feature Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood. The movie will start with a death of a prominent Batman villain, and the team has to figure out who killed the villain. While the primary villain isn't known, Deathstroke will act as an enforcer and have a few run-ins with the team as they investigate the mystery villain's death. So that would be the premise of this team up.
Well, wait, say that last part again. Whose death?
A prominent Batman villain.
Oh, a
So
villain.
the movie will start off with a villain's death, and the team is going to be
Interesting.
investigating who killed him, and Deathstroke will be an enforcer to whoever killed this guy.
Okay.
So it'd
Okay.
be interesting because then you wouldn't have Batman versus Deathstroke, but you'd have the Bat Family versus Deathstroke, which seems a little bit more like, okay, they're the disciples of Batman, so he could probably take on all three at once,
Yeah.
because he's supposed to be Batman's level, so that'd be kind of cool.
But if it's DCEU related,
Hmm.
and if we are going in the direction that I'm pretty sure we all think we're going, that means that a Batman that once killed is going to have a Robin that once killed.
Well,
Well,
oh,
with the
so
Red
you're
Hood.
assuming the Snyderverse still
No, 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 no.
exists?
I'm thinking Keaton. Keaton killed people.
Yeah, but I feel like we're retconning that though. You know what I
You think
mean?
so?
I don't think this is going to be a straight '89 ripoff. I think it's something that they're just going to kind of retcon. Because his suit's
Okay.
slightly different and stuff like that. I think they just won't bring it up. It's going to be kind of those, we're just not going to talk about that kind of thing. I think that's what it's going to be,
I'm not
personally.
gonna I'm not gonna lie, because it's so jarring to me
Hmm.
still that Keaton is going to be our Batman. I kind of want to see that story. I kind
Yeah,
of want to see him with Robins, not the aftermath of
yeah,
Robins, which really sucks.
yeah. And I find it very interesting here that they didn't say like Damien or Tim Drake because they don't have to worry about casting somebody young because you only get that person for one film, maybe two, depending on how fast you film those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The best thing to do would be to hire a young Robin, like maybe like 16, and make them look young in the first film, and then have them cameo in multiple films, and then turn into whatever they're going to be in the future. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, like a Tom Holland, like if you got another character that's not Tom Holland, I don't think you can cast Tom Holland, but if you got another person that like Homeboy Beast Boy, I think could have been a good Robin because he still looks really young and he's probably like in
And
his
he
20s
wanted to be
already.
Robin.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wanted to be Tim Drake. So I think you could do somebody like that. You just got to get somebody that is very Tom Holland where they just look young no matter what. And it's just like, yeah, you can keep making him be Robin. And of course, you'd have to cast a short king for that because you don't want him to be like super tall and in a Robin suit. It just doesn't look great.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely, yeah, short actors should be out there be like, yeah, I'll be Robin. Look at me, man. I could be kid forever. I mean, just look at the fucking that one chick on the Flash who was like 40 years old playing a teenager.
Fuck, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, that chick is insane. Um, Anyways, so yeah, Gotham Knights movie possibly in the works. I'd love to see it, man, because we're not going to get this from Matt Reeves. You know what I mean? I
No.
don't. I think Matt Reeves is going to focus on Batman, and I don't. He already debunked all those Robin rumors. Everybody's like, oh, the politician's son's going to be Robin. He debunked that. He was like, that's a cool theory, but that's not what we're trying to do at all. So don't even think about that if you're out there thinking that's going to be the thing. I would hate for that to be Robin anyways. You know what I mean?
It would just be really weird and again shoehorned in. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, he saved the kid, so the kid has to be Robin now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wouldn't want that either. I think we're just going to have another trilogy that just focuses on Batman.
Yeah.
And Catwoman's going to be the second teammate. You know what I mean? Maybe Alfred will actually be a bigger part of the movie in the future, so he'll be a secondary character that helps Batman. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. I would be surprised if we got like Nightwing or somebody else, which I hope we don't. Like, I don't want to see a realistic version of them because what's the point? What's the point of seeing real? Like, maybe you could do Under the Red Hood if you wanted to, but then you're just gonna negate all the other Robins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't care. Um, but moving on from that, we do have Harley Quinn spin-off news and Harley Quinn news. First bit of news is James Gunn is going to be in season 3 of Harley Quinn as himself. Do you think this is just going to be Suicide Squad jokes?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it will be.
Or do you think Harley Quinn, like, they're gonna, because if I'm not mistaken, the season ended with them going away in the car, right? Like they took off on
Yeah.
kind of like their honeymoon kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna like end up in LA or something on this road trip, and James Gunn's gonna be shooting a movie and something like that.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, and then she's just like, "Oh yeah, you're James Gunn," and blah, and then she breaks the fourth wall, so she can bring up the Suicide Squad if she wanted to. So yeah, that'd be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen. But I think the bigger news out of this is our boy Kite-man is going to be getting a spin-off from the Harley Quinn show. And do you have the premise of this?
So the premise is think of Cheers,
Yeah,
but with Kite Man and Harley Quinn characters,
yeah,
Gotham characters,
yeah. Except for Scarecrow because he's dead apparently. Yeah,
except
that
for
ain't gonna happen.
Scarecrow. So think of like, because I think what this came out of, honestly, is HBO Max specifically
Mhm.
saw the reaction of fans when they saw the ridiculousness of not only Kite Man,
Yeah,
but Bane and all of the villains and how like stupid ridiculous a lot of them are in that show. And they're
yeah,
like, let's make this a fucking show. Let's do it.
yeah.
We already gave Harley a show. Let's give everybody else one in their own Cheers type of setting.
Yeah, it'll be hilarious. I'm curious on how they'll like go about it. Like, what's Kite Man's problems gonna be? You know what I mean? Just trying to deal with his breakup to Ivy. Hell yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I'm curious on what he's gonna do. But just like it's funny, man. People shit on Tom King's writing, but he brought Kite Man to life to where people fucking love him now. So like, that's a power of a creator right there.
The hell yeah gif was everywhere when
Yes.
this was fucking announced.
Yeah. Dude, like I and it sucks because Tom King's not the creator of Kite Man, so he's probably not going to see anything from this.
Yeah.
But it's definitely based off his version of Kite Man, like 100%. Like there's no other like Kite Man was not doing that kind of shit. You know what I mean? You know
Yeah.
what they need to get fucking Mothman in there. That one version,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, they should get him in there too. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Oh, by the way, I was randomly looking through. I don't know if we ever talked about this. I was randomly looking through our future comic books, and this has to be announced already because it's got to be in solicits. Did you hear about this book called Rogues?
Yes, the one
Yeah,
with the Flash. Yeah.
is it the Flash? Because I saw a lot of Batman villains in it.
Really?
Yeah, and it had Condiment King as like a bartender or something, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, "What is this book?" Like, I was just
Do you
like,
know when it's coming out?
it's in the next few weeks. It's in our books already.
Yeah, I'm going there right now to
Pretty sure I
see.
saw Condiment King like as a bartender or something, or at a diner or some shit. And I was just like, "What the hell is this?" So I didn't even realize that. I
Oh,
don't remember
little
us talking about it.
tease, little tease. Flashpoint Beyond is already available for
Oh,
us.
I saw all the. I went looking for Batcat, so that's why I was like, I was looking through all the books, which I don't think it's been uploaded. By the way, I don't know if it's been delayed either because I didn't see it.
I didn't see it. I
So
haven't seen it yet. Yeah, no.
yeah. So, anyways, that's our future pickings to see that. Which perfect segue. Batcat. It was funny because I got mad at Clay when he posted this in the Discord. I was like, spoilers, bro, because Clay posted what Clayman posted on his Twitter, which is a cover for Batcat issue 12 that has Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle in a wedding dress, followed by every other version of Tom King's Bat and Cat throughout his series on the cover.
Yeah.
We know
It
that
looks fire.
it looks amazing. I saw some. I immediately went to the Catwoman Reddit because they're super Tom King fans over there because they're the only. He's been the only writer that gives them Batcat, and they're like, "Oh my god, this needs to be the hardcover cover of the 12-page book or like the 12-issue book." And I was like, I wouldn't be against it if it actually ends
With
with
them
the
getting
wedding.
married.
You can't. They have
Do
to,
it
right?
again.
They
They do it
have
fucking
to.
again. Can
If
you
he,
fucking imagine?
dude,
Oh my god.
can you imagine the backlash? I would have to talk shit. I would have to talk
Oh,
shit if that
shit.
happened. Twice? Like, that would be rough.
King, we need to sell books again.
Yeah.
Tease this wedding.
Yeah. There's going to be 50 variant covers of this, and they're not going to get married. She's going to leave him at the altar again.
This time it's Bruce that leaves her.
Oh, that would
Oh,
be something. I
fuck.
have to be depressed. That would be some shit. But Tom King teased the issue 11, which that's why I wanted to read it. That was going to be the thing, and if that's the cover, that means that he's got to blow his load on issue 11 like all the time, right? So I mean, something big. We're going to get the conclusion of everything in issue 11. I would assume issue 12 is just going to be leading to the wedding now, or they're finally getting married. But does that mean Zdarsky has to already be dealing with that, or are they just ignoring this? Because I don't see how, dude, that's gonna like blow up if it's true. Like if they get married, that shit's gonna fly.
I know you're not gonna like this answer, but it's Black Label.
Yeah, but I feel like it's also from a major run. You know what I mean?
It is, but people haven't been treating it like that. Like the readers,
But
honestly.
everything's continuity. That's DC. That's fucking DC's fault. That's Scott Snyder and his stupid ass story's fault. Everything is continuity.
Yeah,
So
you can make the argument.
that's fucking on them. So like I take it as continuity. Um so yeah, I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. But I'm excited to see what happens. I would be fucking shocked if he does another turn. I'm just like, are you kidding me? I would have to talk shit at
Fuck
that point.
you, Top King.
Yeah, it would be fucking wild. But that is, if you want to go check that out, go check out Clayman's cover. It's also in our Discord if you want to go see that in the comic section. But from that is all the news we have. But we do have a bunch of viewer questions. I don't think we have anything from. Let's see, do we have anybody on the YouTube channel? I think we just have one
We
from
do
Raphael.
have 2 on the YouTube. I'm
Yeah.
checking it out right now.
Well, Kid Stu, I don't think he has a question.
He has
just
he has a little bit of commentary over our last discussion last week
Yeah.
in regards to like what villains we could have seen or would like to see in the Batman sequel,
Yeah.
talking about Scarface and the ventriloquist.
Mhm.
He said that Al Pacino would be a good voice for
That would be pretty down. That would be pretty badass,
so
actually.
I not only that, dude, because of the type of like old man,
Yeah.
Robert De Niro as the ventriloquist.
Oh, you think he should be like the guy holding the dummy? That could be pretty. Al Pacino and dude.
Ed De Niro?
Yeah. But he'd have to be like the main villain. Because there's no way you're casting him as a side villain.
Oh no. Yeah, you have to do it as like a hey, like this is a new Gotham.
Yeah.
We're gonna run these streets. Like
You could do Scarface versus Penguin as the two villains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it be
Fighting
like
for
a
Gotham.
legit gang war this time,
Yeah.
and Batman's caught in the middle.
Yeah. De Niro as the ventriloquist. That would be the short and pudgy ventriloquist. Yeah. Yeah, with Al Pacino. That would be fucking hilarious, dude. They're just continuing their mob roots. That would be
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, so yeah, that would be pretty fire.
And
But
then Raphael says, and they both congratulated me on soon being a father.
yep, yep.
Raphael says, uh, quick question: can we give suggestions for a name? Raphael if it's a boy, Raphaela if it's a girl. Maybe totally joking. He says, as for comics, I've gotten off of Catwoman. I'm not attached to the new direction of the writer. I hope Juice is really enjoying it.
We'll be talking about that here in a bit.
We're going to be talking about issue 41 here in a moment. He says, now the real question: can Abby have a special guest episode on the podcast where she can give her opinion on the world of comics? Again, Clay, congratulations. Now, I will say this: I have talked to Abby about comics. When we first met,
Mhm.
I found out she was really big into Hello Kitty, and like I bought her like Hello Kitty comics and things like that.
Yeah.
She has them as like a safe keep type thing. She
Mhm.
don't give a shit about comics, guys.
Yeah,
Like she only watches comic book movies because I watch them.
yeah.
Like if it wasn't for me, she probably wouldn't watch them. And now, especially with like the streaming deals and everything else, she's like,
Mhm.
you can go see it in theaters. I'll wait until it's on Disney Plus, or I'll wait until it's on HBO Max. I'm
Yeah.
good with waiting. So, uh, and I've always poked and prodded her to see if she would be willing to like do just like a conversation type of episode
Yeah.
with me on my other podcast. Nah, nah. She's
Yeah.
just like, yep, nope, not gonna
Yeah.
podcast. Sorry. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
cool.
there's plenty of women that are like, "Hey, I respect what you do, but I don't wanna be any part of it." Like, like, I do not give a fuck. So, respectively, yeah, but that's funny. There you go. You got your answer there, Raphael, though. Now moving on, I know we have a few in Discord.
Yes.
So, let's see. Let me pull these up because I don't think I have my Discord up right now. Going to
Nevik says, what do you guys think about the Harley Quinn spinoff? Do you think it's a good idea? And we said we're excited for it. It's gonna be absolutely hilarious,
yeah.
and we're looking forward to it. There is, of course, Drew being a troll.
No, hold on. I want to read this troll one though. I gotta give we gotta give some respect to Drew here. So Drew, who didn't listen to the last podcast, Drew, how dare you? He's like, I haven't listened to last week's podcast yet. You lost credibility with your Batman review. My question is, how will you restore my faith in your judgment after this epic fail? How can I trust you to give me my Batman reviews, opinions, and news after knowing that your taste sucks? And this is how we're gonna do it by doing jack shit, Drew. By doing jack shit. You know what I mean? Because we have no problem being the villains. And out of respect, or I should say, being the bad guys, because out of respect for the late, great Scott Hall, as he was once quoted, hard work pays off, freaking dreams come true. Bad times don't last forever, but bad guys do. Okay? So we have no problem being the bad guys if you think that. But in all seriousness, I want to get your opinion on this, Clay. What are your thoughts about the term credibility when it comes to this genre of stuff? Because personally, I don't really give a fuck because, and this isn't saying that I don't care what people think, like in our community and stuff like that. I'm just saying that I've learned comic book fans are so fickle, and the moment you
Yes.
don't like something, they will turn on you. So I don't
We just
care.
talked about it with the trolls on Twitter.
Yeah,
Like it has become this weird dynamic on social media, the internet, even sometimes face to face. Like for some reason, people need to be offended when other people don't like the exact same things you do.
yeah,
Why?
yeah. I have
Like
no
I
idea.
like again, I said this early on in our days of Batman News Weekly, but for those who were, relatively newer, I'll reiterate the story. I know somebody still to this day that will not say a single bad thing about anything.
Yeah,
And his idea is, oh, well, they've all worked really hard on all the projects that they're doing. They don't deserve any kind of hate.
Yeah.
I
I
was like,
respect that mindset, but
okay, that's
yeah.
cool. So what if you don't like something? Oh, well, I'll still tell them they did a really good job.
Mhm.
Okay. But if I don't like it, I won't say anything. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
you're not trying to grab attention.
Yeah.
And regardless, Drew, if you think we have hot takes or anything on our Batman reviews, we're not trying to seek attention
Yeah.
and saying bad things or bad opinions, quote unquote, as some people may feel,
Mhm.
to seek attention. This is how we feel. We didn't think it was the Batman movie that was really shown in those trailers. And it just wasn't great experience as far as like the movie that we kind of wanted, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't take I know Drew's 100% kidding with this
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I just think it is very interesting because we do live in a world where and this happens on both sides where if you're not 100% right, they automatically use it against you. And it's just all like, "Oh, remember that one time?" Like if you were to keep like if you I we're not going to talk about politics right now, but in that particular way, it's like each side is like, "Oh, remember when they did this and they did this and they were wrong about this." And it's just like, bro, like people are wrong. It's just what fucking happens, especially in the news cycle where everybody has to be first.
Yep.
Like it's gonna be a mistake. You know what I mean? And yeah, granted, I want credibility in like in places of people of power. Like I want the president to be credible. I
Yeah.
want police to be credible. You know,
And
medical
also
people. Like
we like enjoying we enjoy doing this because we like talking about this stuff.
yeah, yeah,
But here's the truth, listeners. There is hundreds of people doing the exact same thing that probably have the same opinion you do that you want to hear.
yeah,
So, like, I'm not saying go run off and find those people. I mean, you can. Like, we still value your listening,
yeah.
but we are not going to see or hear what the majority have to say about it and be like, oh, we have to be just like them.
Yeah, no, that's something I've always said in my content that I'll never do. Like I'm going to tell you how I feel 100% whether I loved it or whether I hated it. And I know and I try to admit my bias every time. Every time we bring up Tom King, I'm like, "Well, I'm a Tom King lover," you know what I mean? So it's like whatever. And I try to say where I am biased or where I'm not. And yeah, I'm just gonna tell it real. And I learned this that when I was doing those reviews, there are people that only want to talk positively because they know they're gonna get better reactions and they're gonna get a better community by just talking positive, and they won't tell what they really thought. But behind the scenes, they're telling a different story. And I'm just like, I think that's kind of shady.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna do that personally. And I'm telling you this as I talked to these people behind the scenes, and they would promote good stuff, and they'd be like, "Actually, it's kind of shit, bro." And I'm just like, "Oh, why don't you say that?" But some people are scared. People, this is some of people's livelihood, so they
Hmm.
don't want to fuck up their audience. I want you to like me for me. I don't want you to like me because I say whatever you want. So,
Yeah.
and that's just kind of how I go about my content. If you want to stay around, that's awesome. If you don't, I hope you find somebody that fits your views, because there's a lot of people out there that cater to every type of view.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's our resident troll, Drew, out there, which followed up by many gifts of you guys, which was hilarious. Okay, so we got Ethan, the Ponderer, as we've been nicknaming him. My question will be, do you guys think we will ever have Batman movies that are kind of like the Arkham games? Now, he's kind of said this before in just a different way. I didn't want to bring it up and tell him, like, you kind of asked this last week because he was asking, could we get a horror thing like Arkham, is what he asked
Yeah.
previously. And yeah, could we get stuff like Arkham? Sure. Are we ever going to? Not in Matt Reeves' universe.
Well,
So,
it even says when Batman is like 30 years and most rogues or gallery is established. I think that's where we're going to be post Flashpoint.
yeah.
I think that it's going to be treated as though Keaton has always been there. And although we may be seeing some of the rogues gallery for the very first time on screen, they're going to show the relationship between Batman and these characters as
Yeah.
though it's been like a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. I'm still hoping that, they have plans to bring in or bring back Affleck or a new person. Just recast him. Just fucking recast Batman. Like, I want to see Batman with the Bat family. I don't want to see fucking Matt Reeves' as Batman over here and the Bat family shining over here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate it's probably going to be like 10 years until we actually get the Bat family together. Like both areas would have to be done and rebooting. And be like, yeah, we're going to restart and we're going to start over the universe with the Batman. And this is finally going to be the way we do things right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just like, dude, just give me fucking Batman. It's unfortunate because Affleck's only getting older. But, if they were to maybe give him some creative control or something to bring him back, that could be a thing. I just never thought I'd be talking about like, yeah, Affleck coming back, like that'd be awesome. But after I got Reeves, I'm just like, fuck, I need Batman in this DCEU universe. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But speaking of Batman, Young says, do you guys think the Flash movie will be reshooting? I hope they cut out a lot of Batman stuff and make it an actual Flash movie. That ain't gonna happen. Even if they are reshooting, I haven't heard about reshoots. According to an article I read, which I think it was Deadline or Variety that talked about this, the reason for the delays is the VFX.
Yes.
And the one thing you can say, if you are a MCU lover or whatever, DC's films usually look better. The stories aren't necessarily the best, but they usually look better than Marvel
Yeah.
movies, in my opinion. When it comes to CGI, and with people are saying that I don't know what the quote was, but I think somebody said like the Flash is got like fucking end game levels of effects in it, which would be insane.
I kind of believe it,
Hmm.
but like if that's the case, then the little bit that we saw outside for shooting for the Flash was
Yeah.
probably the only outside shooting for the Flash. You know, like
Yeah.
it was basically like, oh, these three scenes, cool. Everything else CGI inside of a studio.
Yeah. But didn't you say the way they do like the Mandalorian and stuff now is like looks really good?
Yes, yes.
So
The using the volume technology has evolved since the Mandalorian, because
yeah.
even the very first season of the Mandalorian used the volume,
Hmm.
and because of the pandemic and the shutdowns, they've had to really kind of use that as a crutch. But they've also been able to develop that technology even more. So it does actually look really, really good. The trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi, for anybody who has seen that, the trailer looks great. All of that volume technology.
Yeah.
Like there was like very little outside shooting for that. So I think it'll look good. Uh but like you said, for everything being VFX, we have to remember 98% of, well, I say 98%, I'm not entirely sure,
Hmm.
but like James Wan's Aquaman 2,
Yeah.
majority of that movie is going to be underwater.
Yeah.
Like we Jason Momoa's hair, every strand has to be VFX'd
Yeah.
to look like it's wavy underwater.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some
And
time.
that first Aquaman looked great.
Yeah.
So, and we've always said this, take your time. Fucking, I wish Clayman would have done that. Just take your fucking time and give us the best product. You know what I mean? And you know what? We've already waited, 20 years for The Flash? So we might as well just have it be the best it can look, right? Like
Yeah.
they know they need to knock that movie out of the park because of the delays and it's supposed to reset the
It
universe.
it has now tied with Wonder Woman 84 for
Mhm.
delays.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's insane. So yeah, we'll see. Did you hear the rumor? Now this might be spoilers. You might need to skip ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just say a minute. You hear the rumors that Wonder Woman might be in Shazam?
Yes. Yes. We've talked about it over at DC Alliance.
Uh-huh.
Um there is a lot of rumors that kind of say that a lot of these characters are going to be showing up in a lot of different other movies. to
Yeah.
kind of prominently show, okay, these are your heroes.
Yeah.
These are the ones that are going to be your new Justice League. Just know that they are in the same universe. They are going to team up eventually. Like, they're going to
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah.
Because of the big rumor that we heard in The Flash of, they're going to be establishing a new Justice League.
Yeah.
But uh, also, we talked about this last episode, so it's not really a spoiler or anything because it's about the delays. But people are not connecting the dots with Flashpoint being at the end of the new slate.
Tuh.
People are saying, because I brought it into conversation multiple times,
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, the Flash will be the end of the beginning,"
Mhm.
and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, it makes total sense. You're moving all of your movies in the front,
Yeah.
showing them in chronological order, and then the Flash will bookend everything and start a new timeline. And
Yeah.
it took like a long while for people to finally connect the dots.
Hmm. That's weird.
I thought that was very, very odd.
Yeah.
So maybe a whole lot of people aren't really looking at this movie as like a new reset, but like I think it's kind of obvious.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Batman 2.0 movie, to be honest. Like, it's just Batman with a sprinkle of Flash.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, what could they do in a year's time? Like, they could reshoot stuff if they wanted to. With this delay, I'm wondering if this gives them more time to find a Nightwing, if they're looking for a Nightwing, because that's just going to be a shot of him showing up at the end. It ain't going to be anything crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be, he might not even be in costume, to be
Mhm.
honest, but we'll see what happens. But I'm interested to see where they're going to go. And I also think it would be very interesting or kind of weird that they would make Batgirl the head of the Justice League when if they also introduce Nightwing, who has been Batman before. So be very curious. I mean, I'm not saying
But
it's
in
not.
this universe, has he been Batman?
That's true. That's true. But it all depends on how strong they make Barbara Gordon. Like if
Mhm.
she's the I don't forget anything Barbara Gordon and everything I see I remember kind of Barbara Gordon, then she might be gangster.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see which one we get. But I'm super excited for that film, man. Still, but now it's gonna be a year more than a
Yeah.
year till we get that now. So and I'm curious on what this means for Blue Beetle. Is Blue Beetle going to be pushed, or are we going to get that at the end of 2023?
That technically wasn't even a part of the slate, which by the way, they have casted more people for Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I've been seeing it.
Uh
So
I I would hope that they make it make sense. They don't just use it as a like, oh, here's a movie for you Latino people. Like
yeah,
I don't want that.
yeah. I don't know. It sounds dope though so far from who
Yeah,
they're
I'm
casting and
looking forward to it a lot.
yeah.
The
It's our
the
Spider
female
Man.
the
Move over our
female lead
Dora film.
the
So
female lead in that movie actually was the second runner up for Supergirl for the
oh
Flash.
really
So they have been really looking at her for a role in the DCEU. It looks like so
nice.
that's gonna be fun. But going back to Young's question, what do you think Flash movie will be reshooting? Again, we don't know if they will be reshooting at all, other than we know that in fact it is going to be a lot of VFX.
Yeah,
Now, Juice did suggest last episode that you could possibly throw a lot of money at Ben and be like, hey, we have now given us an extra 8 months to really put this in the can and do anything that we want to. Are you sure you don't want to be Batman?
yeah,
And see if it works. And they could do something with Ben Affleck, but
yeah.
we shall see.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see, man. It all depends on where he is mentally, and if they really want to do that. But I think they need a Batman, man. I just don't. I mean, but the thing that sucks is the Batman is making so much money, they're probably just like, eh. But
Yeah,
if you're money hungry, two Batman would probably make you double the amount of money. So
yeah,
just fucking do it. And you can make one more like over the top and crazy, and like, oh yeah, let's just make that more comic booky, and this could be our serious black label Batman over here.
yeah.
But it is what it is. We do have, let's see, Wix says if you guys had the power to cast a Batman trilogy, what would be your Batman, your Gordon, your Catwoman, and any other villains you would like? I feel like we get this question a lot.
This
Uh,
one we kind of did this before Pattinson got
yeah,
casted as Batman, and it's like I don't know about you, and I'm pretty sure we've said this before. We are not great at fan casting just
yeah,
because like the Hollywood looks a lot different recently. And for
yeah.
the better, to be honest.
Mhm.
Um but I'm not super familiar with everybody who is in quote unquote the big leagues anymore. So like,
So I looked at this and I was like, I feel like we've done this plenty of times. For Batman, Gordon, and Catwoman, who would be your cursed casting?
oh god,
Yeah,
like a like
like just a terrible. So I'd go my Batman, Matt Damon. That's my cursed Batman. My Gordon, Mr. Bean, and Catwoman, and my Catwoman, Tina Fey. That's my cursed
oh,
casting right there. Yep. Matt Damon as Batman, Mr. Bean as Gordon,
oh.
and fucking Tina Fey as my Catwoman.
No, who so do you know you basically I would have to think of the next Batman movie as like your next disaster movie,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And like a scary movie, date movie, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh what was that blonde chick that was in all of the scary movies? Uh
Anna Faris?
yes.
Yeah.
Anna Faris is Catwoman.
She was brunette in those, though.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still, like her I think her natural hair color is blonde.
Yeah.
Uh so Anna Faris as Catwoman. Gordon, I would do let's do shit.
The guy with my little hand. That guy. That's gonna be your
Oh
Gordon.
shit.
Uh,
No. Let's fuck. You know what? Just because he could do both like no, see no. Cuz I know he could do really really good and also really really bad
mhm.
if like the script just like was shit. So people may hate me for this, but I think he legit could do both. Uh, just do freaking Eisenberg, freaking Cranston as Gordon.
Oh, as Gordon?
Because you got to have somebody that will draw you into the movie. Because
Yeah,
you're like, oh man, this person's Batman, this person's fucking Catwoman. Oh wait, Cranston is fucking Gordon.
yeah.
Let's fucking
But
go!
that's
And
like
then
a
you're in.
legit casting, though. So, see, if you want to make it funny, you make Cranston Batman, because
I
then it's
mean,
just like, oh shit,
oh
like a little
shit.
too old for that. But all
And
right.
then let's see. My Batman, Taylor Lautner.
Oh god, that I forgot that guy still existed. Holy shit! You might as well just said Timothy Charlemagne. Fuck, fucking Willy Wonka out here being Batman. Or you know what would
Oh,
have been worse is you could have said Tom Holland. I would have been like, oh god, Tom Holland as Batman, like, dude.
oh, Tom
Hey
Holland as the
guys.
Joker.
Oh, that'd be terrible. No, like I feel like you can make Tom Holland the Mad Hatter, and it would still be kind of short. Like he'd be kind of like
He
you can
still
make him.
has that very boyish face. You can't do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Mad Hatter's creepy as fuck though. Like you can make him looking kind of creepy,
Maybe. I
but I don't
Toymaker?
know.
Maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you could do something like that, but it is what it is. You know, if it's my hero, he can play the little kid that makes all the gadgets. That's what
Oh
Tom Holland
shit.
could be.
Yeah.
But anyways,
One
uh,
last question from Red Hood. What is your favorite comic that isn't Batman related?
dude, I was trying to think of this, and I was just like, dude, I've read a shitload of stuff that's not comics, like not like DC related, and I'm just like, I don't remember any of it. I remember 100 Bullets. 100 Bullets is pretty cool.
Hmm.
I've definitely read other stuff by Brubaker and shit like that. And so it would have to be some type of noir books, but 100 Bullets is pretty dope. That's what I have over there.
I will let you guys know right now. If you have the extra spending money, go buy the first two volumes of Radiant Black. Um, it's a really really cool series by Kyle Higgins. They just recently did a crossover with other two characters that are being introduced into that universe. They're basically making a like superhero universe within Image Comics, uh, and it could possibly like be on par uh, to like the big two. Like they're like trying to make an
Hmm.
actual connective universe with multiple heroes. The fourth hero is being introduced later this year, and it's really cool to see like the birth of a superhero universe because
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit, more people are being introduced. This is fucking wild.
Yeah.
So I would say go read Radiant Black, and then also just because I've always loved it, Power Rangers by Kyle
Mm,
Higgins also, and that series is still going on today. Not written by Kyle Higgins, but it's still really really good. So
yeah.
those two properties I would say are my favorite comic books as of right now.
Noise, noise. But that is all the viewer questions. And so now it's time to go on to comic reviews. And let's just start off with the next Batman writer, Chip Zdarsky's. I already forgot the title. I just know it has Knight in it. Batman the Knight? I think that's what it's.
Gotham Knight? No, 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 not Gotham Knight.
No,
The Knight. It's
the Knight.
Batman the Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to see what I had an issue with was, we got to see, oh my God, Descartes
Yeah.
knew who Bruce Wayne was. We find out that he was hired by Alfred to search for Bruce Wayne,
Mhm.
not bring him home, but to just find him. I guess just to make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
And then we find out that there's like a serial killer on the loose, and they want to try to capture him. And the reason why they're involved with this is because it's what they stole in the last. It's what they stole in the last book, and Descartes is just like, you got to call Alfred Pennyworth so I can get paid, and that's pretty much the whole story.
Yeah, like I know there's like the whole thing with the serial killer. They
Yeah,
actually find him and stuff, and like Bruce beats the shit out of him. But
yeah,
like this is 3 issues in,
hmm,
and I think Chip is trying too hard.
yeah,
Uh, there because there's a little bit to this whole thing of like, okay, you're building Batman, like
yeah,
you're literally creating from what is Bruce Wayne to Batman. So you have to show these characteristics that are like, oh, this is how he becomes this character.
yeah,
And like you get these kind of in between panels that is clearly Chip trying to say, oh, this is the detective of Bruce, and this is how he learns to be that detective.
yeah,
And it just makes the book drag so much. Like I was like, "Oh, I must be getting close to the ending here if like I've been reading for a while." I was on page 11 out of 30. I was
yeah.
like, "Shit."
I did the
Like
same thing. It was nuts. Um, I don't know. Like, one, I was getting confused with who was talking at points.
so that was the odd choice here. The inner monologuing, the
Mhm.
narration in this book was the serial killer and
Yeah,
not Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
And one thing that also bothered me, I noticed it a lot. I don't know if it was in the other books, but I noticed it very much here. Everyone was speaking in French. So
yeah,
what they did was the little bracket things, and
hmm,
everybody had those like at the beginning of their sentence, at the end of their sentence.
yeah.
And it was kind of distracting.
Hmm. Yeah, you could have just started at all. This conversation takes place in French. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess they do that just to indicate that. So, and it didn't bother me too much, but I understand how it could look kind of annoying. Yeah, the Catwoman type character fired Bruce, and he was like, "I got to go find a card now because you fired me." And she was like, "We all know you're not trying to do this for a career. You learned what you wanted to learn." And I need somebody that's cool and calm. And because Bruce beat the shit out of this guy, she was all like, "You have a lot of violence in you, and hopefully you can control it." So that's kind of like the vengeance
Yeah.
kind of thing, happening right there. But I still don't like that. I mean, it makes more sense now, but I still don't like that people know who Bruce Wayne is. Granted, he is $1 million playboy, but
How many
I
millionaires do you know?
not many. Oh, I mean, lots, shitloads,
Well,
actually.
yes, but
Not
like
personally, I wish.
yeah, for
Yeah,
real. But like you can't just be like, "Oh, that dude's a millionaire." Like
yeah.
they don't make it like the real world doesn't make it as obvious.
Mhm.
And it makes it sound like Bruce is the only like one of the only few people in the world
Yeah.
that has money.
Yeah. Well, I think he would be a billionaire at this point. But the reason why I don't like this, like the way they're trying to put it out here, like, oh, I have to know. Granted, Descartes is like a spy agent kind of dude, so he has way more information than anything.
Yeah.
But I don't like it because he's supposed to be future Batman. But if he's going to start working with Descartes, Descartes will know his identity because of what everything he does, right? So it is what it is. My thing is, I assume that Bruce Wayne, when his parents die, he stays out of the spotlight. Like he's a
Yeah.
recluse. Like you don't see him on the streets. You don't see him unless he's out there doing his party playboy thing. I feel like when his parents die and he goes into training for that 12 or 20 years, however you want to imagine it, he's not in the public eye. Like he's just hiding away in the shadows, learning his techniques, doing all this shit. So nobody would know what Bruce really looks like because you don't see him out a lot. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I envision it. Um, but yeah, they're kind of making him be out like he's always in the public eye, kind of playboy type dude. And I just don't really see it as that way. And I just don't like that some random Catwoman lady knows that he's Bruce Wayne now
Yeah.
because I just feel like it doesn't really benefit the story.
Also, the Foundling.
Stupidest name, bro. Oh my god,
Do
that
you
was
know
so
what that
stupid.
is? The
No.
Foundling? That's the name that the Mandalorian gave Grogu before he learned his name. The
Baby Yoda?
Foundling. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and then like
The,
they
the
also use
detective the detective work. Oh, I actually think the Foundling is this person because
mhm,
reasons.
yeah,
Like there's no actual point A to point B to for Descartes to say, "Hey,
yeah.
I know that this character is the killer
Mhm,
because of this long list of reasons." He
yeah,
legit says, "Hey, this person is number 1 on my list because he's also an orphan. His parents were killed a long time ago and all of these murders happen to be of only the parents."
yeah,
Like, what?
yeah.
It doesn't connect to me. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's just I'd have to read it again to I kind of see where it was coming from. And I know when Bruce figures it out, it's he's looking at the photo and he sees the one person that's I guess still alive or whatever. And he was it's him because he's happy. And I was just like, okay, but I realized that Bruce is also an orphan, and he was like, if you lost your parents, like you're not happy. He's like,
Yeah.
you're never. And if this guy lost his parents and he's happy, he's faking it. So that's why he's just like, oh, let me go. And so I was like, okay, he's trying to do some detective stuff there, having like Bruce just quick witted, be like, oh yeah, let me do that. But I don't know, man. I just think there's so many better ways to do this. I actually just enjoyed more, and it's funny because I rarely praise Scott Snyder anymore. But his one shots of Bruce learning to be Batman over time were so much better than the 3 issues we've got of this because he was
Yeah.
doing good while also learning stuff. Like, there was one issue where he had to go to like a death pit and they were like, "You don't get out of the pit until you kill somebody." And he was beating the
Oh,
shit out of
yeah. And
everybody,
he
and they're
refused to kill everybody.
yeah, and they were
Yeah.
like, he was like, "You gonna let me out, or you just
And
gonna
he
keep
did it
sending
for
people?"
days or something like
Yeah,
that, or
that was
hours or
cool.
whatever. Yeah.
He learned to drive from like one of the best getaway drivers in the world, and then he like ended up getting him caught. He was like, You're not gonna keep going anymore." After he learned how to drive with him, like he ends up getting him caught. Yeah, there was just cool shit like that that made Bruce. I was like, that's how he should be learning. Same thing like the animated series when he goes and sees Zatanna's dad. He's learning how to be a magician or this
Yeah,
kind of
this
weird
whole
escape artist.
idea of, like, finding this woman and now, being like, "Oh, I must have a type because
Yeah.
I'm gonna now go after Catwoman when I'm older."
Yeah.
That's, again, on the nose. You don't need to do that,
Yeah.
you know?
And this is what scares me about him going on Batman because I feel like there's two types of writer. There's many types of writers for Batman, but I feel like the types of writers that go into Batman are people that want to tell a really good Batman story. And then there's the type of writer that wants to be remembered for telling something in a Batman story. And those are the ones you need to worry about because they're going to do crazy shit or try to do something. They want to be like Frank Miller, right? They want to
Hmm.
add something that people are going to remember forever. So Chip Zdarsky's over here saying that Batman's greatest wish is to see the Joker die, like by his family's hands or whatever, is fucking wild. And then he's over here like, oh, let me do something that hasn't been done before and start telling all of Bruce's like journey to being Batman. And I'm just like, no, you could do this in such a better way.
Yeah.
And because I've definitely thought about telling that story before, I would have never fucking done it this way. This is
Yeah.
a terrible way to do it, in my opinion. But yeah, he's got me worried for the main Batman run, dude. Like, big time. We could get another Tynan, maybe worse, which would be nuts.
It's
So,
it's insane, dude. Like, and to think, man, I loved Jimenez on Superman. I
yeah,
loved Jimenez in Justice League until it got like super fucking wild with Snyder.
yeah.
And then I got him in Batman, and I'm just thinking, man, like,
I like Justice League up until Year of the Villain.
yeah,
That's when it got
Justice League up
ridiculous.
until that point was great.
Yeah.
Fucking sun dip Superman punching that dude straight in
Mm-hmm.
the face after like basically breaking at like a whole dimension just with
Yeah.
one punch. Like that's fucking wild. It's crazy.
Joker
That is
outsmarting Luther.
Lex
That was
Luthor. Like
awesome.
it was all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the big thing with that was we had Jimenez for that entire thing, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm just saying like dude, like it sucks that you're getting stuck with these. Like, yes, they're high profile writers, so
Yeah.
your name is going to go with them. You're going to get probably better gigs, but to be attached to what may be a really poor received Batman again for the
Yeah.
second time,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah. And it doesn't help again, like that series is gonna start shortly after, right? It starts like what, in the summer,
I
right?
believe so. Let me try to find that release date.
So it's gonna start shortly after Tom King once again does something really huge with Batman. And he also has another Batman series going on. So people with Tynan, we said this right when Tynan was getting really bad. We're gonna be like, when Batcat comes out, people are gonna be pining for Tom King to write Batman again. And that's exactly what happened. Because everybody was so
July
tired.
5th.
So we get that Batcat wedding issue, if it is going to be the wedding, in May or June.
Yeah.
So people are going to be riding high for that probably, because the hardcover usually comes out a month after. So
Hmm.
probably come out a month after. People are like, oh yeah, buy that. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But so I hope Zdarsky has been planning this for a long time and he's not just pulling it out of his ass because this could be bad. But we'll wait and see. It is what it is. Let's move on to Catwoman. What did you think of this issue? Because I will say very quickly, I was liking it, and there was some wording at the end that really annoyed me.
Yeah. I actually really enjoyed this.
Mhm.
I didn't really like Selena's interaction in the beginning with this Valmont character
Yeah.
cuz like okay, you're acknowledging that he's killed people.
Mhm.
Why aren't you beating the shit out of him and like hanging him to dry or
Yeah.
turning him in or whatever? And I can understand the idea of like, oh, well, he's a murderer, so I have to watch him so he doesn't do it again.
Yeah.
But like, you're also coming off of a life that you've been seen as a villain. Do you
Yeah.
really need to, you know, be pushed in that direction again? Like,
So I look at it in the perspective of she's needs to see what is going to be happening with the gangs because she essentially has a target on her back now for what he did. So
yeah,
I think that's kind of why she's like, all right, let me see if he has anything else planned because I need to know about it. If if he's planning something else, because then I'm gonna get an even deeper shit. Because she's always been somebody that knows where to look and where
Yeah.
to be. So I kind of took it in that way.
Okay.
So
And then for me, I haven't personally read anything with Onyx Adams,
yeah,
but the inclusion of her here, it felt organic. Like it felt
yeah,
like, okay, this is a well-established character, even though I don't know her.
yeah.
Like
She's in No
it,
Man's Land a lot, I think.
yeah. And then just recently, the only reason why she was somewhat familiar to me, she was in a few episodes of Young Justice with this past first half of the season that they're doing.
Still
Uh
haven't seen that.
the second half is already dropping at the end of this month. But
Hmm.
well, it comes out weekly or whatever. Um but I really enjoyed this character. I thought that, kind of playing coy with the whole like Catwoman being kind of attracted to her and like, cuz she says, "Oh, I definitely have a type."
Yeah,
And Onyx being this character that's kind of tall and brooding, and she's basically Batman without being Batman.
yeah.
So I do like that stuff. uh what's his name? The inclusion of Dario, I think, is still very interesting. Catwoman is not necessarily like feeding him to the wolves, but isn't necessarily like letting him go.
Yeah,
She's wanting to use him, but also she understands that he got the sore end of a stick.
yeah.
So I can understand that story as well. But I am guessing this line that you're not liking is the conversation that Catwoman and
Onyx.
Selena and Onyx were having
Yeah,
in the apartment, right?
yeah. 100%. So she's because Onyx, when she shows up, she says Onyx is the only other person that is allowed to patrol Gotham that isn't part of the Bat family.
Yes.
And Onyx is like, I don't have a pass or whatever. So they're kind of referencing that in the apartment later. And she's like, I don't like that Batman's associate pass. He ain't around and you're your own woman. And she's like, and we're technically on a break. And I'm like, don't fucking Ross and Rachel me right now, bitch.
That's
Do
exactly
not
what I
fucking
thought
Ross and Rachel.
about.
It's funny. It's funny because you want to know why? I agree with Ross in the show. I don't agree with her here. So I'm a hypocrite. I'm a hypocrite. But that's a totally different thing right now, okay? Because as far as I know, their break wasn't to get away from each other. It was to handle the shit they needed to handle.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we're gonna be on a break, so go fuck whoever you want. Go fuck. No, they're still married. They gave each other rings. Like if
Yeah.
she gave the ring back, I would have understood that. That doesn't happen in the story. So it's just like, yo, you ain't got no money. I got some shit I need to handle which that story was done a long ass fucking time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess technically Ram V still kind of played with it though, so I guess technically it's still alive. But anyways, it was never a we're on a break to see other people kind of thing. And then, anyways, Onyx is like, well, I'm gonna get the hell out of here after they're eating sushi. And she's like, Selena, it's good to see you again. You're focused, and that's a good thing. But I gotta tell you, I don't think that man loves Gotham. She's referring to Valmont here or whatever. He just wants to fuck it, which is definitely a reference to him being interested in Catwoman, and that's all he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to like her just kind of talking to Dario or whatever his name is. There's one more issue of this, and I'm hoping the Volman guy is done. And I don't know if this was the issue with the cover that everybody was like so upset about or whatever. I don't think it is, but because I didn't see the front issues. But yeah, I don't think it is. So I don't know if that was last issue either. But I went and read the solicits because in this book, we do have this conversation between all the families and Black Mask, and he's like, "Y'all guys are bitches. Like, I kill people. We need to kill people. We need to kill Selena. So y'all need to stop being bitches." And so they're gonna try to get something, and we see at the very end there's like these ninja type fucking Naruto characters at the very end, and they're like, "Tell them we're in the apartment or whatever." So I'm expecting there's gonna be a fight. It's gonna break out. Well, apparently there's a new character going to be in the next issue called like Tomcat or something like that. I read this from the solicits, but it's going to be, I think Onyx is going to be in the next issue as well. It's going to be Catwoman, Onyx, Valmont, and this Tomcat or whoever this other person is.
orgy.
That would be terrible. But I think if we get through the next issue, this fucking story's gone. Because if Teenie Howard ruins the Batcat scenario right when they're about to get married in Tom King's shit, like that would be the fucking worst thing she could do right now. But it during this whole issue, I was like, okay, it seems pretty clear that Catwoman doesn't give a fuck about this guy because she was like, I don't kill, I don't do this kind of stuff. And at the very end, there's like this just weird lingo, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't like that. Like, fucking make up your mind. Now, if you're trying to play like, oh, she's kind of like teetering on like, oh, do I like this person? Do I not like this person? There hasn't been enough buildup for
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? You had more buildup with that cop that got shot, in my opinion, in Ram V's than
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah.
And it would just be so weird for her to be like, I'm in love. She even says, like, love made me soft. Like, so she's still obviously thinking about Batman. She's still talking about it. So it'd be weird. I don't think Teenie Howard's that stupid to do that, but I've never read her content before. So I don't know. And I would hope DC is not that cool with splitting them up if they know they're going to try to sell this other book. I feel like there are going to be so many variant covers of that Batcat book if it's really happening.
It's a very interesting the Bat Cat relationship and how they are so loose yet strict on it
Yeah.
is really mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't be having the debate because it should kind of be set in stone. Okay, this is a couple. This is,
Yeah.
they have a relationship. Now, I think it's absolutely stupid, something that has kind of rocked another DC relationship. Bendis
Hmm.
teased before he got kicked off the Superman books that like Superman and Lois were better together when they weren't married.
Huh?
Like basically, hey, I need to stay. Like Lois was staying in a new apartment, Superman was staying at the fortress,
Yeah.
and their son was off, doing whatever because
Hmm.
he was now older and was in the future with the Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
So they were basically like not together, and everybody hated it. They were like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
This is the Superman family. This is Lois and Clark. What are you doing?" And DC finally fucking shut that down and got other people in on the Superman books.
Yeah.
And right now Superman's off planet, but it's a really good story, but Superman or the new Superman, John, and Lois still have a really close relationship now. So
Yeah.
the Superman family is close while they weren't with Bendis. Here, I don't know why it's been such a thing lately to be like, "Hey, I think it's better for them to be separate."
Yeah.
I feel like this is just like going around in circles on how we feel about them, but we've already had how many years without them being a thing,
80
and it's just
plus.
like it's kind of boring. Like
Yeah.
you can have more stories with them together, more opportunities to sell books if they're together,
Yeah.
and you're just not doing it. I think that's dumb.
Yeah, and it's also like there's no other relationship out there besides like Wonder Woman, which never really ever happens a lot. That people are like, oh my god, when Batman like screws that girl, like I'm so into that story. You know what I mean? Like when Batman hooks up with Catwoman, people are like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? But like, there's no other big character that Batman's been in relationships with that people really care about. Like, so I don't understand why they can't do that. And if that's something you want to have, like if you want Batman to be able to hook up with other people or whatever, then just have Catwoman also like that person. She's bi. Like just fucking do that. Be like, "Oh yeah, if you want to do something fun there, go for it. I got next." Or if you want to do some kinky shit like that, then just do that. But if not, it doesn't cuz who was it that said oh my god, it wasn't Neil Adams. It was homeboy that I think worked with Neil Adams. He passed away a while back.
Oh,
Uh,
Denny O'Neil.
I don't know if it was Denny O'Neil. I'm pretty sure Drew, our resident fact checker, can correct this. But it was. I remember. Oh fuck, who was it? I don't know. There was another writer that was talking, and I think he was referencing Danny, that you should never show Batman like having sex with somebody or hooking up with somebody because it like destroys the mystique, or like it's just everybody's gonna want to do that after that. And I think that's what he was saying. And it was another writer kind of
Tom King
referencing
was
Tom
like,
King. Well,
sorry.
no, Tom King actually I think responded to it on the Word Balloon podcast, because I think it was the same podcast. And it
Okay.
was what I think it was Greg Rucka that was talking about it. And
Okay.
I think
Okay.
he was the one that said, he's like, yeah, you just don't do that, like blah blah blah, because then everybody's gonna want to do that. And Tom King was like, "Meh," like and I think Tom King referenced that. He was like, yeah, Rucka. I think because I think they were very close to each other, like in podcast, and I
Yeah.
think Tom heard it and probably talked about it. Or I could just be making all of this up, but I feel like that happened. So, anyways, yeah, I don't mind this Catwoman story. Like I'm enjoying it. But the moment they do that or they cross that line, I don't give a fuck about it anymore. Because like we've waited so long. The Batcat book's been delayed. They should have happened years ago, and we've suffered
Like,
through enough that I'm
and
just like,
here's another thing. I'm not saying that Catwoman can't have her own book
mhm,
because she's not in a relationship with Batman.
yeah,
Like, I think that they can be in a relationship and her still have her own book.
yeah,
That's easy. Like fucking Nightwing and Batgirl had their own book and they were
yeah,
on and off all the time. Like, I think that you can still have an established relationship between the two and then have Catwoman being on her own adventures because Bruce trusts her and Catwoman trusts him to a point.
yeah,
To a point. Because, we've seen Tom King play around with that as well and everything else. But I do think that there should I legit that's the only thing that I don't agree with in Tom King's story right now
mhm,
is I think there should be a point where Batman does trust her completely,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think one of the things people have an issue with is I feel like they, if they were married, people think Catwoman can't use her sexiness to her advantage anymore because she's in a relationship. I'm like, no, that's deception. Batman does that all the time. Long as she's not like fucking, all right, let's fuck so I can get the information. Like, she doesn't need to do that. Like, that's not what Catwoman necessarily needs to do. And so, like, I feel like maybe there's some writers that think, oh, I just can't write it. I just can't write it because she's in a relationship. Like, how am I supposed to be able to use that element? You're not a
Yeah.
good writer if you can't. Like, I'm sorry. So, yeah, I don't know what's happening there, but I think because I read the solicit for 143 or for 43, and like Harley Quinn's coming to town or some shit like that. It's a buddy cop kind of thing with Harley Quinn, and I think Catwoman's leaving Gotham. So like I don't know, it's
That's
weird.
weird.
So they didn't reference Velmont or anybody, and this one says 3 of 4. So I think this is over on the next one. If you were to break them up on the fourth issue of this, that would be terrible. Like
Yeah.
on the final arc, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's kind of my rant on that. But let's jump over to Nightwing. What did you think of this issue?
I love this issue. There was some inside jokes on this issue between Tom Taylor and Gail Simone. Uh, there was just the best friend dynamic of Wally and Dick Grayson that I absolutely love. It was a fun issue.
Mhm.
Now, they're kind of getting back to the whole thing with his sister because they finally mentioned her as his sister.
I don't like that he's referencing her as his sister and he doesn't question it because they have never dove into anything else. He's just like, yeah, my sister. I'm just like, you should be like my maybe sister. Like, just have that weird quippy dialogue.
I can see that argument or
Mhm.
that complaint for sure. I just think that the story that we got kind of sounded so concrete in
Yeah,
the moment that he was like, "Oh shit, I have a sister." Like,
yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So that's the headcanon that I have
Okay.
that it was so jarring to him that he's just like, this has got to be fucking true. Like,
Yeah.
this all makes sense.
Okay, I can see that.
So, uh, but I did enjoy the uh it is questionable, this whole thing, like, and they even say it. They're like, Dick Grayson was somehow supposedly able to survive this. We haven't
Yeah,
seen him. Like, so Dick Grayson, you have to Nightwing, you have to, chill out. Don't go out there, being Dick Grayson and show that you survived yet. Just
yeah,
like relax. But when Barbara gets kidnapped, she is purposely drawn exactly like Gail Simone, and she says, "Oh, they fridged me." The phrasing "getting fridged"
uh-huh.
was created by Gail Simone. Did you know that?
For no,
Do you know what
I see that
fridging
she does.
is?
Getting put in a fridge when you die.
So so fridging became a reference to female characters in
Mm-hmm.
every medium, but specifically comic books, that were being murdered only to progress story. So basically, hey, you're a female character that is important to this character, but the only way that he can progress as a character is if you
Mm-hmm.
die. So you're dead. And the reason why it's called getting fridged is because in the early 90s, Kyle Rayner,
Mm-hmm.
the Green Lantern, had a girlfriend that the villain Prometheus legitimately chopped up and put inside of a fridge.
I think I remember that.
And when Kyle Rayner opened the fridge, you saw the silhouette of the mangled up body.
Yeah.
So Gail Simone went on this huge internet post in some random like blog site.
Mm-hmm.
DC saw it and was like, "Well, if you think this is such a bad idea, why don't you write comics?"
Mm-hmm.
And
Where's our
now
jobs at? What the fuck?
now look at
We
Gail
have
Simone.
130 episodes of this shit. The fuck? God, where's our
Ah.
series?
So being fridged is a legit thing that people use on several other mediums as well. Like they've
Mm-hmm.
used that terminology before, and Gail Simone is the one that created it. How fucking wild is that?
That's pretty cool, to be honest. Like to know that
Yeah.
you made a word, or made like a reference. Although, even though she's bitching about it, that just sounds like a cool premise to see the fucking like body chopped up in a fucking fridge and stuff. That just seems like a cool story. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
So
it was like a jaw drop. Like go read it.
yeah,
Like if you can. Like
yeah,
holy shit. It was like, oh fuck. And then Kyle Rayner, like he had his like Super Saiyan moment
yeah.
in the arcs after.
Hmm.
So like seeing it here and like legit the face, the way the panel is, it's like right close to Barbara's face, and she's like, "I've been fridged in a van."
Yeah,
It is so funny. And so uh Dick Grayson uses this as like a, hey, wait a minute, I think we could find people, like we can find who's involved here.
yeah.
Now this is where I really like it, because although we hated the freaking Rick story,
Hmm.
what did it do? It made KG Beast a legitimate Nightwing villain.
Yeah,
it it's set in stone that KG Beast was going to do everything in his power to kill Nightwing.
yeah.
And who do we see here? KG
KGB.
Beast. And I'm like, fuck yes. Like, we're going to actually see something from this newly set rivalry.
Hmm.
And when they open the freaking fridge van, Barbara's not in there.
Yeah,
Because, of course, you're thinking, oh shit, Wally was so fast with his super speed, got Barbara out, and then planted them both inside to surprise whoever was going to open the door.
yeah.
And that's where we leave the book. And I it's fun. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I love the art because it's funny because it's Wally West diving out of the thing, right? Well, Dick Grayson is stuck in the van with all of these bullets being
And
shot at him. He's just like, ah,
he's like
fuck! He's
dodging,
like
like he's
super gonna die.
blocking freaking bullets and shit.
Yeah, I was just like, he's probably dead meat in there. It feels like, but I'm gonna assume his suit is like super fibered, bulletproof and shit. But yeah, no, I enjoyed this because I know we mentioned this a long time ago that I was like, if they make KG Beast a major villain in Nightwing, like that sets up like it makes it worth it almost. You know what I mean? For the shit we went through. Granted, that story wasn't great, but if you build something huge out of it, then all right, I'll give it a pass. Um, but yeah, no, I thought that was pretty fire. I'm excited to see what happens. I need to know more about this sister thing though, man. Like it's been too long. Like they
Because we
haven't even
also
talked again.
we also haven't gotten a whole lot from the person
Heartless.
who's, yeah, heartless.
Yeah.
So
It's like Blockbuster's the main villain when he
mhm.
wasn't set up to be the main villain in the first issue. It was Heartless.
I wonder, because I don't think Tom Taylor is getting off this book anytime soon.
Yeah, I
This
doubt it.
book is selling like fucking crazy.
Mhm.
But I do think that he like only set those people up as like a, hey, there's more to come.
Yeah.
And then like maybe shit got in the way as far as like DC saying, hey, can you put, the whole thing with Fear State or with
Yeah, all
Fear
that
State
bullshit.
was like, hey, you need to have 3 or 4 issues of
Mhm.
Nightwing in this book. And so it's just like, oh, okay. So like he had to pull his attention away
Yeah.
and then be like, oh well, I kind of lost momentum. Let me build this all back up.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It is kind of weird, but I mean, it's good now. I just want to kind of answer those questions. Like, it's been a pretty hot minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, But I mean, in Tom Taylor, I trust unless he's writing Batman, which it's weird because I'm like, Nightwing's so good. I would love to see Tom Taylor take over Batman. Then I was like, oh wait, he had a Batman story and it sucked.
Yeah.
So he won't be my savior to Chip Zdarsky. You know what I mean? And I don't at this point I don't know who could be. Like I don't know who I would want to take over Batman because I had hope in Joshua Williamson and then he just shat the bed with that last issue.
Just
So,
because we just talked about her, I kind of want to go back to see if she's ever written any Batman stories. But
Gail Simone?
Gail Simone.
Yeah, I don't know. Her Batgirl was dark, which I
Yeah.
liked. I thought that was pretty
I
dope.
think she's capable of writing a dark story.
Yeah.
And I think she is capable of finding the voice for Batman.
Mhm.
It would be interesting.
Yeah. It was funny because you were talking about that series about them building a new comic universe or whatever
Mhm.
to oppose the big two. Wasn't she supposed to be building one with some like small company?
Lion Forge. Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't fucking go
I
anywhere, huh?
I guess not. I haven't heard anything with her being the helm of that in a long, long time.
Yeah. That was years ago too.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on from Nightwing, let's go over to Detective because another book where nothing really happened. Like, I don't care,
Yeah.
you know?
So I'm gonna jump right to the end here.
Uh,
Because I think this is the biggest thing that I don't care about because I think they got it wrong again. I don't think the mask gives people power.
yeah, I don't think so either. I think it's just something that helps him. Like, it's a
Yeah.
coping mechanism or something. Not a coping mechanism, but you know what I mean? Something that, like,
It's a
helps him.
comfort thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because doesn't he like the reflection of the mask is what helps him see himself or something like that? I could be just making that up. But
I
like,
can't I don't remember too much about it. Like I
yeah.
know that I've asked Drew before, so Drew, if you're listening up until this point, uh if you can give us a little bit more insight on Psycho Pirate, like, and when I say all of this about the mask, I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but
Yeah.
Nakano's wife, who was not the one who got shot, like we said, it was going to
Yeah.
be Psycho Pirate, and he's still not dead. He only got shot like in the shoulder or whatever,
Yeah.
which is hilarious because that's always the go-to. Like
Mhm.
if you're going to shoot somebody, it's always the shoulder. Like
Yeah, it's
never.
because like your legs have arteries, so it's not the leg shot, which it's funny because you always hear people like, "Oh, cops should shoot people in the legs." You're like, dude, you got arteries in your legs, like you can bleed out so
Yeah.
fast. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So yeah, shoulder shot is just like, oh, it hit the collarbone. You know, he's good or whatever. Like, fuck.
But this talk about fear and everything else, like it kind of works well with the whole idea of Scarecrow being
Yeah.
like the last end or part of this whole Tower of Arkham story. But like even that, I don't care all that much. Like we already got way too much Scarecrow in the last story
Yeah.
with freaking Tynan. Like I'm done with him, you know?
Yeah.
I will say this art made Batman look actually pretty fucking like beasty. He looked
Mhm.
really like big in some of these other like beginning panels. Uh but Nakano's wife taking this mask and being like, "I am not afraid anymore."
Yeah.
Cool, that doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah, and I also thought it was kind of weird. Like it was a weird panel where the Bat family confronts Scarecrow and they're just standing there. And, like at what point do they ever do that? Batman's usually like, let me swing first when there's a crisis, you know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
like
Like
unless they're far away. They're like
it's
in
just
front of each other.
it's really weird. It's like they're like, "Hey, we come to talk." Like
Yeah.
Batman doesn't come to talk. He comes to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah,
And
especially
then
when people are dying right now. Like he
yeah.
goes straight in, subdues you, and then talks to you. Yeah, that was kind of weird because it was also like not just Batman. It was like multiple. Like it was Batwoman, Tim
It
Drake,
was
and
almost the
yeah,
entire Bat family except for Nightwing because he was incapacitated
yeah,
last issue.
yeah. And then so there's some fighting because there's some fighting. Batman subdues Scarecrow, and they're like, "Get the mask!" And everybody's trying to run to get the mask, and it's Nakano's wife wearing it. Yeah, don't care. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like that, and that is honestly, that is truthfully the entire issue. Like
yeah,
we see Batman kick some ass some in this issue, but that's basically it.
yeah. It wasn't great.
Now,
Um,
question,
mhm,
because the next part of Detective is usually our biggest thing to talk about.
yeah,
I will say this. I think this is the only miss of
yeah. It
Rosenberg's
didn't
story.
feel like what we've been reading.
No, it
I
did
was
not.
I was like, oh, did they switch writers? Or like I was curious until I saw the ending because we can only assume the boy was not in this book at all. I mean, he wasn't in this book.
No.
But it's essentially a Joker story. And we're already past, I'm assuming, No Man's Land. No Man's Land is already done, so we're in the
Yeah.
future. And we're far in the future now because we have Red Hood in his current ugly ass costume.
Yeah. His
So,
Mortal Kombat costume.
yeah, the Mortal Kombat costume. And he's been watching somebody this whole time. Batman breaks through a window because they were at some water plant that was Joker's like first hit, which I think is pulling from Tynan's run, which I don't really necessarily like. That was the first thing Joker ever did, or some bullshit. And he's all like, "You're hiding Joker," blah blah. And he's like, "What Joker? What are you talking?" He's like, "You're not gonna take this person. He's a good person." So I'm assuming this guy is hiding the boy.
The boy.
Yeah, and not Joker, but Batman thinks it's Joker.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious, what has the boy gotten up to, and that he's being hidden or whatever this case is. But yeah, it
But
just felt really weird that he wasn't in this issue at all.
it's weird because here's the theory that I have.
Hmm.
I think that the boy is making a play to get rid of the Batman and Joker.
Possible, because we do know the end of the book ends in a trap.
Yeah.
And they just so happen to have four separate tunnels that the family needed to go through, and there was a villain in each of them. And it's interesting, it was every villain the boy has worked with, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was interesting. And then we see this water rushing through the tunnels because they were questioning, like, why is the water so low in here? And then the
Yeah.
water rushes through the tunnel, so it's like they're going to drown the Bat family. And we'll see how they get out of this because that's where the story ends. So, has the boy finally become a villain? And if he has, who is the villain?
I think it's a new creation.
Which would be cool because that's what Tynan could have done
Yeah.
but didn't. Um
Do you think it's somebody that we
No,
already
it
know?
has to be new. It has to be new. Because then you get into the like rewriting somebody's origin kind of thing,
Mhm.
and you don't want to do that. And you would essentially it has to be new because all of those other characters have been created since Batman was young, like in
Yeah.
early Batman. So you can't
Yeah.
just rewrite them and say they're older.
And you've basically shown that the boy has interacted with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm curious. At this point, I kind of don't want it to be, if it is going to be that redheaded dude from Arkham.
Nero
Yeah,
X
I don't
whatever.
want it to
Yeah.
be him. If anything,
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
want him to just be a new character.
And
Um,
I will say, dare I say it, actually, this may be the first time in a very long time, especially with DC, that I'm excited for a new character.
yeah, yeah, I can agree with that.
Because, like, with everything that has been happening since the beginning of this podcast, we have read freaking the Ghostmaker,
Yeah.
Clown Hunter, the designer. Uh, we've seen the creation of a lot of new characters. I mean, I guess the only new character that I have enjoyed in the last few years from the Bat family,
Hmm.
Raptor
Yeah,
with Nightwing.
that was years ago.
But that was years ago.
Yeah,
Exactly. That was shit.
Rebirth.
6 years. That was
Yeah,
6 years. Holy shit. Rebirth is 6 years old.
yeah,
That's fucking insane. So 6 years. And this feels organic in a way that isn't messing with anything.
yeah.
Like we have been complimenting on Rosenberg's part, is he has been able to take large, iconic stories and placed one individual into that story without fucking with anything else.
Hmm.
And through the years of Batman, it's not just like going into one event and creating this character.
Yeah.
Starting from Batman's almost origins and going all the way through is a very impressive feat.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great story, and it's something I do like to see because again, you're just making a character throughout the time of 80 years of history. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really good thing to do. I'm surprised more people haven't done it,
Yeah.
which is interesting. But yeah, I will agree. It didn't feel like the other stories, but it's probably because the boy wasn't there. But maybe the next issue is going to be the reveal.
I
So
think the next issue is more so going to be like, oh, my plan is coming together type
yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. So we'll see. Either way, the story's still been solid. And like I said, we're interested to see where it goes, but it did feel like a filler episode to kind of get to the big reveal. So, but moving on to the final issue of the week. This is World's Finest, or Batman Superman World's Finest, which we've actually covered the first half of this
Yeah.
before. So this was at the back of, I forget what issue
It
it
was
was.
detective. One of the detective books. It was at the
Okay.
very, very end. Yeah.
So yeah, we already read half of this book because they gave us like 12 pages, which was nuts. So what we haven't covered was the post Superman getting stabbed with the red kryptonite, right?
Yes. But
Uh,
also, one thing that I've always wanted to like tell you, because
mhm,
I listened to Mark Wade talk on the Word Balloon podcast. It never says it here,
mhm.
but that's Dick Grayson
And
as Robin.
oh yeah, I didn't think it was anybody else.
This story
Hmm.
from Mark Wade himself says that it is like before, like pre New 52. This is like getting like this is in this era is like almost getting into modern comics,
Yeah,
and it's playing around with the idea that we always talk about with, hey, time is always in flux, so you can kind of move things around and play with some stuff. So this isn't in a like continuity type of story.
yeah,
This is just a, hey, I'm writing a comic that is called World's Finest with these characters.
yeah.
So, for those of you who might be confused as of like where this takes in the timeline, should we consider it as canon, stuff like that? I honestly say enjoy it for what it is because little tease into what I think about this book. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, it fucking looks amazing.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, this is what we talk about. If you're fans of Doctor Who, which again I still cannot believe is in Fortnite, blows my fucking mind that I saw that this morning. I was like, Doctor, what? They have everything now. Nothing sacred. Fucking Doctor Who always talks about how time is not a linear thing; it's always in flux and it can change. That's how I picture comic books. Like anything could have happened. This World's Finest story could have just been in the very early days of Batman and Robin, which is what it feels like here. Because we see a glimpse of the first time Batman and Superman worked together, and Superman pretended to be Batman, which I thought was awesome. And he gets hit by these laser lightning type things, survives it, and then Batman saves Robin from the classic, hanging over a vat of boiling acid, which I think is pretty cool. But like I said, in a previous issue, we covered the first 12 where, Ivy and what's his name? Metallo
Yeah.
are coming after Superman on top of the Daily Planet. Superman starts going crazy. And the reason we got that flashback of Batman and Superman was to tell us that, hey, I'm glad you helped me. Thank you so much. They shake hands. He was like, I did it because I figured you would do the same for me. And he's like, totally. It's Batman saying, I'd be there for you the way you were there for me. So it's setting up the story for Batman to be there for Superman in his time of need, where he's going crazy with this red kryptonite. Everything in this book, Superman accurate? I mean, you're the Superman guy.
So, red kryptonite, it usually alters the attitude
Mm-hmm.
of Superman, makes it to where he's a bad person.
Yeah.
So this was a little weird. I think Mark
They
Wade
did
took
mention that it was laced or something like that. So could it have been a different form of it?
yes,
So,
and that's what I mean. Like he took some liberties to be able
mhm.
to basically shift it to whatever he wanted to do in the story. So Red Kryptonite, I'm just gonna read it here, says uh red kryptonite weakens Kryptonians just in the same way as green kryptonite does. In fact, it weakens them to a much greater degree. So that part is accurate.
Mhm.
And I think in that way, being laced even more with something is what got it here. The
Yeah.
only part that they didn't really play with is the second effect of red kryptonite. It says here, uh, the red kryptonite seems to cause extreme mood swings. And in the golden age of comics, it was considered super mood swings.
Mm. There's this one panel of Superman freaking out, and you see his skull like in X-ray vision. It looks so amazing.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how Dan Mora was hiding from us as comic fans for
Yeah.
so long. He got started in like big industry comics in Power
Mhm.
Rangers,
Yeah.
and then he moved on to DC and Marvel, and I am so grateful for him. He
Yeah.
is amazing.
I would hope he would get on a main Batman run at some point. I don't think he's ever worked with Tom King, has he? Uh,
No,
I
he
would
is
love to
not.
see him work with Tom King on something. But so Superman's going crazy. Like there's a bunch of stuff. He's like flying around. They're trying to chase him. All this kind of stuff. And out of nowhere, he starts turning to steel. They're like, he's quite literally turning to steel. And we see the fucking Doom Patrol. And I was like, what?
This was cool.
Yeah, I was not expecting to see the Doom Patrol in this, but this is how you introduce characters into comics like this.
Yeah.
Like a cool way. Because the show's out, granted, it's a little different. This is classic Doom Patrol that we're getting,
Hmm.
but you could be like, oh, I've heard of that show I haven't watched, which I still haven't even seen the second season, by the way. But yeah, just seeing the Doom Patrol, I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Because there's a point in the comic book where they're like, how do we deal with Superman? Like, who can save him? And Batman's like, there might be a guy. And
Mhm.
so he called in the Doom Patrol,
Yeah.
which I thought was pretty fire. We see Superman going crazy. They're trying to hold him down, but he's fucking Superman, so he's doing his shit. And Batman is like, he talks to, is it Negative Man?
Yeah.
And he's all he Batmans that shit up. He fucking tries to get a plan going. He's like, I'm gonna have an opening. You're gonna need to be there. And this is when Bruce runs at Clark, and they're like, you're gonna die. And he's like talking to him, like he's like, dude, like you're freaking out. I know you. You would only tell somebody who knows you your secret identity. Like I'm blah blah blah. And Superman thinks he's Lex Luthor. So
Because he's hallucinating at this
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. And we have these cool images of Superman just holding Batman by his neck, and Batman's trying to like gasp for air and stuff like that. Talks him off the ledge, and then that's when Negative Man is able to use his shit and like take all the kryptonite, red sun, or whatever, red light, or whatever they call it, out of Superman, and he goes unconscious. I like this because they saved him from that, but he's not out of the woodwork yet.
Yeah.
And it ends with them being at the Doom Patrol mansion or whatever. And Superman is changing his body. Like he's like Crystal. He looks like Crystal at this point, which is really weird. And they're talking about the syringe and stuff like that. And then he has kryptonite like surgical weapons.
Yeah.
And and the next issue is called Surgery on Superman. And yeah, I I have to say we've read The World's Finest before, like when it was David Marquez. Looked
Mhm.
amazing. Story wasn't great.
Yeah,
Um
because it was David Marquez with Joshua Williamson.
yes. So I enjoyed this because I it's always blown my mind that there's not a World's Finest book. Like to be honest, I feel like you don't always need detective and action. You could just have Superman and Batman on their main titles and have a World's Finest as a secondary book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I know they tried to do it with Wonder Woman. They tried to do Trinity because I would love to see more stuff with them, but I don't think people know how to write all three. If some people don't even know how to write Batman, let alone all three characters, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I can see why that book would be rough. But yeah, Superman and Batman, like how do you not have a continuous book of that, or at least something that releases in like 12 issue spurts? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I feel like they should do more of that. Tom King has wrote both of these characters before. I would love to see a World's Finest by Tom King. That'd be kind of cool. But
Now,
I'd love to
if
see
you
him write everything.
notice, this doesn't have a one of whatever. This is
Yeah,
an ongoing series by Mark Waid, but he has also confirmed, I am pretty sure, and don't take my word for it, but I am pretty sure this is also an anthology series. So
mm,
this story is going to be with Superman and Batman up until they, of course, probably fix Superman.
yeah,
But then I am pretty sure we're also going to get stories with Supergirl and Batgirl, and then Superboy and Robin, Nightwing, and whoever. Like, I think that is going to continue to use different parts of the Bat family and different parts of the Superman family,
yeah,
and then intertwine again with like Superman and Nightwing, Batman, Superboy, things like that.
yeah.
And he's just going to have fun with the series. And I think that is interesting. I think that's going to be fun. Um, there was a lot of people that have been wanting a Supergirl Batgirl team up, and
Yeah.
looks like we're finally going to get it.
Yeah, no, I don't understand why they haven't done more stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome. Looks fucking gorgeous. By the way, I looked. David Marquez did put up his things for his prints.
Uh huh.
That Catwoman was not on the list,
Really?
and so I'm assuming that's probably like a back end thing of somebody being like, "Hey, I want this," you know.
Uh
Like
huh.
maybe Tom King was probably like, "I want that," so like he didn't put it out there, but his prices have went up. So
Uh,
some of the really good ones are like 4 or 5.
damn.
But he still has some like 150s and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
wanted that Catwoman. I was just like, I was looking for it, and it doesn't even say sold or anything like that. It was just gone. Like it wasn't even there. I was just like, fuck,
Jeez.
because I want that looks so badass. But he's doing all of them, so if there is another one out there eventually, I'll check it out. But if it's like Batman or like a really big character, he usually prices them up big time. So I'm just like, ah, fuck.
I wouldn't mind doing the Killer Croc one when he's like breaking into the safe.
There's some. They have the one where he kills the guard, which I thought was
Where it's
funny.
all like
Yeah, I was
fucking
like, damn.
cratered.
I was like, that'd be hilarious. But there was some other like the 9 panel spreads with Catwoman in it that I thought looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. But I wonder like what Dan Mora's art goes for nowadays because it just looks insane. I
Yeah.
would love to own some Blue Batman. Like that's just fire. But anyways, that is all we got for comics, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for this podcast. Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
So, uh, we talked about a little bit of the Kenobi stuff. If you go check out Star Wars Alliance, we recently talked about how Deborah Chow actually got the axe on her original story of what that show was going to be. Rumor had it that Darth Maul was going to be a part of that story instead of Darth Vader. So we had a discussion about that. Um, Me and my DC host just got finished reviewing episode 7 of season 2 of Superman and Lois. Go check that out over at DC Alliance. And then let's see what else we got. In DC also, we talked about like we did here, the Batman box office, all of the stuff regarding delays, not just uh, how it relates to Batman and everything else. Go check that out. And then I actually did a guest host on Marvel Alliance talking about Daredevil and them being reintroduced into the MCU and how all that's going to work. Today, Disney actually put out their parental guidance and actually put all of the Netflix shows onto Disney Plus. So we talked a little bit about that as well. And then I may or may not, it really depends on how I'm feeling this way. This weekend is I'm probably going to be playing some Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise, probably on YouTube. So
What the hell is that?
it's like the origins of Final Fantasy.
Huh. But how is the style?
It is Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Damn, really?
Yeah. I haven't played it yet. I pre-ordered it yesterday. I
Uh,
downloaded it yesterday. I was planning on playing it and I was like, do I really want to stay up all night and then go straight to work?
but you haven't
Nah.
even beat Horizon.
I have not beaten Horizon
You
yet.
haven't even beat Odyssey. Clay has so many big games that he hasn't even played. And then he's gonna have a baby? Like, oh my god.
And then I'm gonna have a baby and then have all that time to play those games.
You think you're gonna have all those times. We had, I don't know if you were in there, Kyle in my stream yesterday was like, oh Clay, I have an 18-month man. Enjoy those games now, because it ain't gonna happen, my friend. Yeah, well, Clay's time is ticking. Unless his baby's, if Clay gets lucky, he has one of those babies that doesn't cry all the time. So if
That's
you're
what
lucky.
I'm crossing my fingers with.
But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not been coming to my live streams or you haven't been paying attention, what are you doing with yourself? Come hang out. For me, I have been doing a challenge on my shorts channel where I've been posting a video every single day to get the attention of one big YouTuber named Ludwig. Recently, I was saying if I reach day 75 without getting a win in this one game I've been playing, I will do a live stream until I get a win in that game, because it's super difficult. It's like chess with pets, and it's kind of crazy. But I am planning on doing a live stream at some point. I don't think it's going to be this Saturday, but it could be. And that stream will go on until I get a match. So that stream could be an hour. It could be 12 hours. It could be 24 hours. I hope it's not 24 hours. That would be ridiculous. But that is something in the works. Also, in my last 2 streams, I've been kind of talking about how I've been kind of lost in what I want to do. If you go check out my last stream, I talked about the future of the channel and what I'm going to be doing in the future, and kind of like hyper focusing on just one channel instead of spreading myself super thin. It's not going to change Batman News Weekly. We'll constantly be posting you on this. And yeah, me and Claire are kind of talking about some stuff for the future of the podcast. When we have some more solidified details on that, we will let you guys know. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome.